And welcome aboard the Tabletop Express. My name is Chris Barrows, and this is our monthly show where we bring some great people from the industry, from designers to the marketing side of the space, to talk about games we have played in the past month. And we've certainly, as a live show, welcome everyone into the comment section, share their thoughts, comments, questions as we do this. Today, I am so happy to be joined by Danny Lowe, Risa Patron. Welcome, both of you, to the channel. Danny's returning, and Risa, it is your first time. So welcome. More than anything, welcome to Tabletop Express.
Thank you, Chris. It's nice to be back.
I'm very excited to be here for the first time.
Well, just for those to be aware of it too, I've told this story, I think 20 million times, but I have known Risa a very long time. We rediscovered that we were both, at least in some way, doing something in board games more recently. But I did theater with Risa about 20 years ago. There are photos. There's photo evidence of this. So
it is
we
not
have
great photos.
No, they're not. It was. I mean. It was the early 2000s, so I mean they were not the best photos.
Rough patch in time.
Time has flown since then.
Yeah.
But I want to give you both an opportunity before we get into our games to do a little bit of an introduction to where you're at now, because it's really funny. When we planned this out a few months back, I know for a fact that you were both in different places, and I know you're really in exciting new roles now. So maybe Danny, you can start and share a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Yeah, I've made the more recent change. 1 month to the day, actually, I started my new position at Hachette Board Games. I was previously the marketing manager at Pandasaurus, but I made this swap to this French monolith, not quite Asmodee. However, the Hachette brand has been around since the late 1800s as a book publisher. So they just recently got into doing board games back in 2019. Thank you, Ryan. And the US branch actually has only existed since December. So we are brand new. But it makes me laugh every time I talk to my French friends. They're like, "Oh, you made my textbooks." I was like, "Well, I didn't." But that's cool.
Well, it's awesome. I know, obviously, you did some really great work over at Pandasaurus, and I know a lot of people just were very excited when they saw you had a new opportunity, and I could see your enthusiasm when it happened. I know you, Risa, also jumped to a really cool new project yourself.
Yeah, I was with Calliope Games when we first set this up, and they are rocking it right now. They're going to be at Kubla Khan, and I'm very sad I won't get to be there. But I am with Incredible Dream Studios right now, and it is a newer company. We are run by the absolutely incredible Jane Hoffacker, who was the executive producer on Arcane. And there's an incredible talent pool in this group that I'm working with. I have no idea how I managed to weasel my way in, but I'm so glad I'm with them. We are going to be kickstarting our first game later in the summer, and it is basically a cooperative RPG board game hybrid, and it is awesome. It's really, really fun to play. I've been running a lot of play tests lately, and I've played the same mission, I don't know, 8 times now, and I still love it. So
that's
great. It goes well.
No, that's always a good sign. Obviously, everyone loves replayability.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you both are here. Thank you again for taking time again. As we've tried to set a lot of these up, got some great guests on the way, 2 on the table, but these get set up a while in advance. So a lot of coordination. So I always appreciate when people are easy to work with. I will note today I didn't do a ton of extra promotion for this. So if you do see this and you're watching, please feel free to share. It's been a very somber week. I did not think it was appropriate to go crazy and over promote, but this is also something I felt was really important. And I mean, honestly, it's nice to have a little bit of levity right now. And so I appreciate that. I thank you both for that, quite frankly. And I hope that you can join in with us tonight. Maybe share a little bit about some of the games you've played in April or May. And so you can do so in the comments, and we'll have a chance to share those at the end. I want to jump right into it, though. We have 2 choices each in this game, in this video, from everyone. So I'm going to start with you, Danny, to talk about one of the games that you played this month. And it is, I will just say, a game that I have heard and seen a lot of conversation about in the past month, to say the least.
Yeah, so I fell into the hype train hard and fast, head first, and I played Ark Nova. This was, I went in only knowing that it was cards and animals. I was like, okay, cool. This game is check, 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 all of my interests. I learned the rules. My partner and I played it that afternoon. I did not win, but it was an amazing experience. It is similar to Terraforming Mars, I would say, in that you're building your card engine. But I think it has surpassed Mars for me in enjoyability.
It's interesting with this one because this game, hype train is a perfect description. But I was looking at it because this is skyrocketed on Board Game Geek, like insane.
Mhm.
And I know Board Game Geek is not the be all end all because heavy games tend to dominate on there to begin with. But I'm just even looking at it now. It's at 14 right now overall. Terraforming Mars, which you mentioned, is still on there at 5. But I mean, it's been crazy. I don't know if you've played this, Risa. I could say I have played this. There's a lot going on in this game. I admittedly probably don't love it as much as other people. I enjoyed it. I think the one thing that made me struggle a little bit was there's so many cards, so I couldn't get together a good strategy. So I need another play of this. I've told that to Ryan. I need to play this again, because that I felt like I got no mojo going in my game.
That's fair.
So,
have you played it, Risa?
I haven't. I have been so busy. I'm moving tomorrow, so which is why I'm sitting in front of a fireplace instead of my normal office. So I haven't had the chance to get it to the table, but it's like on my list as soon as we get settled.
Yeah, it is interesting. I've heard the Terraforming Mars comparison. I've heard some of the other ones, but in the long run, I have a deep respect for people enjoying this game as much as they do. I don't think it's as high on my list as I said, for others, but I get why it is, because if you like Terraforming Mars and you like some of these other games that are out there, it kind of checks a lot of boxes off. I really feel like it hits a lot of, and not just for the sake of checking off, but I think because it hits things that people really like mechanically.
So the issue you had with not seeing certain cards, for people watching who don't know Ark Nova, you're building your own zoo. And there are bonuses for different types of animals, or you need specific sized enclosures to add specific animals to your park and whatnot. Personally, I love birds. I own a bird, Charlie. He's 22 years old. I have so many feathered friends. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll build a bird zoo, no problem. My hand of cards, you start with a few cards and guides your strategy, hopefully. I started with the Elizabeth Hargrave card, which gives you bonus points for playing birds. I was like, yes, I've made it. This is the perfect game. I didn't draw a single bird card the whole game. Not even the last turn. I never saw any birds. I built a snake zoo instead. Very different.
I think I did the snake zoo too. And it's funny, just to note, because as much as I mentioned the card thing, I'm not as big on Terraforming Mars, but I love Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, which has so many cards as well. So I don't know what the difference I don't think I can punctuate what the real difference is for me. But this is popular right now for a reason. I'll be interested where this lands sticking point wise on that list. Normally I don't care about Board Game Geek top 100s, but I'm interested where this really lands, just because it's skyrocketed. I haven't seen something skyrocket up the charts like that since, I guess, Gloomhaven, really. Jaws of a Lion maybe too, but that's that is Gloomhaven as well. So those two. Risa, you had a game for the list that I have not played for your first choice. So I am definitely really interested in hearing about that one.
Okay, so when I went down to Orlando about a month ago to start looking at houses, I hung out with a friend of mine, Matt, who I can't list all of the companies that he works for, or else that'll be the rest of the show. But he introduced me to a game called Doodle Dash, which is a super fun kind of, I call it jungle speed meets telestrations. So it's a drawing game. It's like a charades kind of game. You take a card and you show it. So one person's the guesser and the rest are drawers. And as you're drawing, the first person who's done, whoever that is, grabs a totem. And they get to be the first person that the guesser guesses. And then the second person to go, or no, excuse me, I lied. Then there's like the second person grabs a die and they roll the die. And then when it comes up with a certain one, then you stop. So basically the incentive for everybody else is kind of like make your drawing as detailed as possible. Because when it comes time to guess, the first person goes first and they show their thing. And if they don't get it, it goes to the next person. And if they don't get it, then everybody else will get a point if you can guess it there. So your goal is to either you want to get it really, really fast or you want to get it really, really detailed. Or if you're in the middle, like you have to stop drawing, but then you're spending time rolling and you never know how long it's going to take. So like, I remember one of them was like, I think it was boat sinking or something like that. And the first person just drew like some waves and like a person in a, or maybe in life jacket. Oh, it was life jacket. That's right. So somebody drew it and the person guessed vest. But we had so much time because we were rolling. I drew a whole scene. I drew like Jack and Rose on a door and the Titanic in the background. And I just put a little arrow next to the vest. But the first people went through so fast, they didn't guess it by the time they got to me. And I had this like whole scene going. So it was really fun. And it plays super, super fast. You know, you can get through, I think it goes, everybody gets 2 rounds as the guesser. And depending, we had 5 people and we played it in, 20 minutes. It was really fun, light, easy game. I love games where you just like spend most of the time laughing. So that checked that box for me.
I love your description at the beginning of because I've played at least one of them and I have the other one in my house right now and have not played it. This one, by the way, I just want to note for people, it says varied for designers on the slide because I could not fit all the names across. I've never done that on one of our slides, so please go, take a look and look at those designers. We like to make sure we highlight designers and artists and illustrators here, so please go check that out. I really couldn't fit it. It was not going to happen.
It's a lot.
There's a lot on this one, so I did try. I like that. Is this one of those games where you don't have to be the best drawer though?
Yes, exactly. No, it's Danny, have you played it? It sounds like you have.
I have.
Yeah.
I played it with a group of people. My partner is not an artiste. I am a person who likes to take their time. I am the best at telestrations. I love telestrations. But Dave ended up winning when we played Doodle Dash because he distilled each little clue down to its stick figure essence. And he ended up being the one to grab the totem first. And more often than not, the guesser would guess correctly. And I'm like, David, your lack of skill. A boon right now. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it really depends on the guesser too. Like, yeah, I'm not an artist either, but I can draw people with very expressive eyebrows. That's my one superpower. So whenever it was like an emotion of some kind, I'm like, I got this. Otherwise, nope.
No, you are selling me on it though, because one of the other games I like that involves drawing is Monstrosity. And you really do not have to have any drawing skill to do Monstrosity. So any game where you tell me, yeah, we got to draw in it, but I don't have to be good at it, I can play. So this falling in that category is great. So that's and I saw Ryan had said that that he was sold. So maybe Ryan and I can get a copy of this. Add it to Ryan, if you're in, actually, I'll note that we could add it to maybe our charity drive later this year. Sounds like a fun one to play with a large group that we hopefully get together for that.
Yeah.
So, no, thank you for sharing that one. These ones are great too, I have to say, because games are meant to be played with people, and that's not just the people we see at board game conventions, but it's family and friends who maybe don't play games. And this sounds like one you can just kind of bust out with anyone. So that's a win in my book, personally.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I've never played prior to this past week or two. I had not played the game that I'm going to talk about. My wife apparently, though, has told me, so I got to tell this story properly. Apparently, because she got me some small game about bees and bears and all this stuff that's sitting in a small games bin right next to me for Christmas. And I was like, where'd you find this game? I never heard of this one. It was interesting, fun. It wasn't anything I went crazy about, but it was interesting and fun. And apparently the reason she got this was she was really frustrated that she couldn't get the game she wanted to get. And that was this one. So that's where the origin of why this was a big deal that she finally got it. I don't know what the issue was, if it was out of print, it was between runs or something. But it is not Dash, but it is bees. Dan Halstead, next move games. And we like a lot of those next move games. So it seemed like the winner right from the start. I really enjoyed this. We've got this on the table now 2 or 3 times since I got it for my birthday. And what really got me about this game was it was a quick and easy game to play. We played all our games under 30 minutes. We've actually nearly played 2 games in a row because it did play so quickly. But it was enough. It was a simple enough game that still had enough strategy that you were still thinking. You weren't. I didn't feel like I was just like losing, like wasting my time. With any move. What's neat about this is if you can see the bee in that bottom image, the bee has a section that says on one corner of it's 1 to 5, 2 to 4. There's a 3. Then there's another 2 to 4, another 1 to 5, and there's a not move. And what you're doing is you're moving along to pick up the nectar, and then you're placing nectar on the board, and you can see the board on the top. Now, that board, which is a really beautifully made board, double layered, has numbers 4 to 5, 2 to 3, very specific areas that you can put these. And similar to if you've played Reef or some of these other games where you've got a card that you need to match a pattern of some sort, it's that same kind of thing happening, but you're placing it in those areas. And it's a fun game because once you hit 12 pieces of nectar on your board, that game is essentially done. It's over. You're ending it. It moves really quick, and it's I just really enjoyed it. It's colorful. It looks great on the table. It kind of checks a lot of boxes. It's not going to be for everyone because I do think that it fits that a little bit of that puzzle type game. If you like it's much lighter than this, but it fits kind of that feel of a Calico where I am trying to map, put something in the right spot, and it's tight because I only have this area. It's not something where I can expand the board, but very enjoyable. I like this quite a bit. I had not had it on my radar. My wife is excellent at finding things that are not on my radar. But this one, it's a keeper, I should say. It's going to stay in the house, and I think we're going to get a lot of play out of this. It's going to be up there with Savannah Park as one of the games we play when we need just a quick 20 to 30-minute game, which are really valuable as a parent, I will say. So I appreciate them very much.
Chris, would you say it lived up to the buzz?
I was waiting for a bee joke, so I'm really glad you went there, especially because normally I'm the one who's saying that. It did, the funny thing is I had no expectations though. Like I went into this like, what is this? The bees are really well made, by the way. There's these cute little bees that are moving around. There's 4 different colors, so it's 4-player game. In case anyone's watching this and wondering, it is 4 players. And again, easy to teach. I don't know if you want a game that's got bees and doesn't take a ton of time, but I think it could fall into that category of you could play it with family and you could play it as like a kind of a game in between longer games. I think it could fit in a few areas, which is, again, a good thing for me. I don't know if everyone even played this, because I myself, again, wasn't even aware of it somehow amongst all the other games that Next Move Games has. I didn't even know this one. So this was kind of a shot in the dark.
I love how thematic it is with the components, but also what you're doing with your little bees.
Yes, it's neat though, because you're planning your move to be a move that is, say, one space, so you can put it in the one space spot. So you're trying to move in the right way. What I didn't note, let me bring it back up so you can see. These flowers have a big piece of nectar in the middle, and then like smaller ones on the side. If you land on the middle spot, you get to take the big piece plus one other smaller piece. So strategically, it's this little extra added element that I think is really cool. So it's almost like, oh, I got to the middle of the flower, I get a little bit extra. So I don't know, I really enjoyed that piece. So that was the other added gameplay piece that I thought was different. And it was funny, even though I wouldn't call it like Reef, because Reef is different. Reef is a game, for those who don't know it, where you're stacking these pieces. It looks really cool. And there's things you're trying to score. For some reason, after this immediately like bumped Reef off the shelf and said, no, this has some of the scoring pieces where I'm trying to match something. It's a different game because you're taking cards in Reef to get pieces, but all the same, this bumped Reef somehow. So I can't explain the why as much as the fact that there was enough similarities and the time frame. So,
well, Chris, would you say that you told Reef to buzz off? I've got one joke.
I'm really red now because I'm laughing. But the best part is I knew it was coming. I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what. I love it.
Oh,
Yes, I will tell
you.
I did also tell, for the record, I think I sent, someone's gonna hate me for this, but I sent New York Zoo packing this week too. Which I had issues with the colors. Brian Chandler knows, who watches the channel. I had issues with the colors. Certain rooms in my house, I couldn't tell the difference between the starting tiles, and I said, I just can't do this anymore. It like became so much effort to set it up. It was a fine game, but I just it didn't need. So I gave it to a good home.
There you go.
Speaking of though games that I have, the next game, Danny, that you put on the list is one that I have, and for anyone who's seen anything here and maybe saw my top 20, it's one of my favorites. So I'm so excited that you had mentioned it, because I don't get to talk about it all the time, but I do love this game.
So my pick came out a couple, maybe 3 years ago. Roll and Write. Maybe it was even last year. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It came out, and I only got it recently because I could never find it in stores. But it's Roll and Write, called Hadrian's Wall. And I love Roll and Writes. I had seen so many people talking about it, but I was intimidated by it because you get these two pieces of paper that are just chock full of information, and you have a player board on top of it, and you have cards and resources. So I was like, this is a beast. This is a tiny little, very heavy box with lots of rules. So it took me a long time to, this was a game I got my partner for Christmas so that we could both play it together and he could teach me. But I taught myself just a couple weeks ago.
I'm glad I'm not the only person who buys people games so that they can learn them and then I can play them. That makes me feel very good.
Hacks.
You know what's funny? You even mentioned weight. Like this is one of the games that doubles as like, yes, it's probably the heaviest Roll and Write that I own in terms of gameplay, but physically the box was heavy, and most of that box is all the sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Which yep. I eventually take care of that problem, and the sheets aren't in there because I've got them ready to be, use a marker on anyways. But it is very heavy. It is a lot of choices. I don't know if this is a photo from, it might have been my first game, so I might have even played it wrong in this game. This was from May last year, I guess. And it's a lot of choices to make in this game. It is different because you're drawing the cards out. It's also different, I'd note, when you're playing with like 2 players versus 1, in the sense of, well, it's not too different because it's a very soloable game. But when you play with solo, you're still drawing a card per person because one of the trade actions still involves what someone might have. So you need to mimic that. And so it's interesting the way it does that. But it's such a good game. I would people use the word all the time, but it's like crunchy. There's just a lot of thought that goes into every turn. How was the teach for you? How long? Because there's a lot of different actions you can take in this one. So I do remember when I first learned it, I was double checking the book a few times, just like, wait a minute, did I do this right?
Yeah. So what I ended up doing was reading the rule book with the sheets in front of me, so I could see like, oh, this rule section references the wall. Let me find it in my mile of player sheets. So that helped, like the visual recognition. And then I just played a solo game to cement the rules. And that meant I was more prepared when Dave and I played a 2-player game.
Did you?
But yeah.
I was gonna say, did you like it better at solo than 2-player, or 2-player than solo? Because I don't know. I've mostly played it solo, so I don't even know that I have a real 2-player experience to speak to be quite honest.
Yeah, so you play simultaneously, which is nice. Like it keeps things moving, unless the person you're playing with is a really crunchy optimizing player who has very long turns. Then your turns might be a little cattywampus. But there is a phase that you have to do together each round. You flip over the enemy card, which is always a very exciting, let's see what happens moment. But I don't play many solo games, so the fact that I played it and I enjoyed it by myself is a big compliment to it.
Yeah, I do think that it is interesting. The part you speak to is, as much as you're optimizing for points in this game for anyone watching, you also have the wall that you're defending. So you have to build up defenses on the wall, which will ultimately lose you points if you can't defend them. So while you're optimizing for overall points, you're also optimizing defenses to not lose points. It's definitely a lot going on there. And it's that double sheets thing that really Matt and Ben over with Motor City Games, really, I feel like, I don't know that they were the first, but they're the ones who made it a thing, you know.
Yeah.
As people who watch this channel tell you, I'm also I love Garfield games, so I'm a sucker for anything from them. Risa, have you played this one?
I haven't. I feel so bad that I can be like, no, I haven't. I also called them Garfield games for way longer than I should have. So in my head, the wall was made of lasagna. It was
well, you know,
it's a very different game.
There's a theater section in this one.
There is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, now I have to get it. That's the selling point right there.
Yeah, there's so many different sections in this game, different things you could check off. It's a lot of fun. I just tell everyone you should check it out. Try it, even if you have never played if you've never played a roll and write. This isn't the one I start you with, but if you've played I don't know. If you went that route, I'd give you all the more kudos.
I think I can handle it. I've played Welcome to, and I've played RAR and Dinosaur World. RAR, and I can never do it, but you know what I mean. Just RAR. So I think I'm ready. I think I'm at the zone where I can handle it.
You can do it for sure.
I don't think, I want to stress, I don't think it's as crazy difficult as people think. It's not really that it's hard. It's a game that I don't think is that actually that hard to learn. It's more about the mastering of it, which I still haven't. I returned to it for the first time in a few months and had like a score under 40, and I was like horrified how bad I did. So when it comes down to it, I don't think it's. I think when it comes down to it, that it's a very learnable game.
Yeah,
just take you a little bit more time.
The graphics, all of the icons, they tie together. It's actually very manageable once you know the lingo. But it is also one of those games where you can't accomplish everything. You're not going to fill in your whole in both of your sheets.
No.
There will be maybe 40% of one sheet and 60% of the other, but you won't be able to do everything. And that kind of lessens the anxiety around like what's going on, because you can just ignore parts that you're not going to focus on that game.
That's good. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is true. At a certain point, you kind of ignore certain areas and you just proceed ahead with your plan. So no, that's a good way to describe it. The next game, and the one that I know Risa wanted to bring up, was one that I actually had played another variant of first. But I know you just discovered this and played it for the first time yourself more recently.
For me, I actually had played it. I played it, maybe 6 months ago was my first time experiencing it. And so this game is Herbaceous, which is I like as you can tell, my theme is I really like games that you can learn very quickly and kind of get to the table fast. And this one was one that I just came back from a vacation, and a friend of mine was like, just bring some games with you. I'm like, yeah, I have room in my suitcase for massive games. So I immediately go to small travel size games, which I love. And this one's a great one because it really is so easy to teach. You can teach it like as you're playing, and that just makes me so happy. Like it's just so calming, like sometimes you love those games that get you like all hyped up, but this one's just like, oh, I'm just making a garden and everything's chill, and then don't pot that plant, and it's fine.
Don't forget about the biscuits.
Oh, the biscuit. Yeah. So oh my gosh, my friend that I played with, she had never played it before, obviously. And I think we were on turn 4 and she got the biscuit. And I was like, this is unacceptable. This is not fair. This is wrong, but whatever. It's fine. It's fine. I'm sure it could happen to anybody.
And I do need to play this with Ryan. I actually have, and I bring this up to make a point. I don't own this one. After I had done a video with, I think, Eduardo, I ended up getting a copy of the pocket version. So I have the pocket version. And if you want to give credit to a game, this game still works in pocket size. Like the card, like you can completely pull this off. Not every game works as a pocket size game. This one, I pretty much realized they could pocket size it and it would still work, and it does. And I love it because it's a quick travel game. You're right, you can teach this to anyone, and the icons are so easy to figure out. I mean, even look at these examples. This was from Anthony, who has a channel, Board Game Dads. When we had done a video, I pulled this. You look at that, it's pretty clear what most of the stuff means. It's like, 3 that equal, 2 that don't equal. I mean, you could tell pretty much off the bat. A quick explanation, and most people are going to get that.
Yeah, it's very, and it's kind of just like, it's always, you pull one, it either goes in your garden or in the community garden. Whichever one you pick, the next card does the other. Like, that's it. Everybody already kind of knows how to play now. Like, it's very, very straightforward. And but it has such a fun, I don't like games that allow you to be mean to other players, but I do like games where you can kind of give them a little elbow, and I think this is one of those kind of games, because very rarely are you trying to screw somebody over, but usually the most optimal move for you is also the most optimal move for other people. So it's really just a case of, are they going to notice it? Are they going to go for it? Is it going to get back to me? And so I think that's a good amount of player interaction without it getting mean. And I like those kind of games.
No, it's definitely not a game like, say, and I enjoy this game with 3 or 4 people, but like Brew, where my goodness, there is take that galore going on in that one. I'm burning your spot down. You ain't doing that. This is much more gentle there. And you're reminding me too, a game that I didn't include on the list this month, but just arrived. Gifted Tulips just arrived.
Oh, mine too. It's right up there.
I don't. Mine is somewhere. It technically was intended as like a Mother's Day gift for my wife if it arrived on time. So She may have it upstairs, but it's beautiful. And you think about the art. Obviously, anytime I see Beth Sobel art, I'm I'm drawn to it. So that's part of it. I love what Pencil First Games does. Floriferous is another one I really like quite a bit.
Yeah.
So Herbaceous is a good. I do got to ask: Have you played? Either of you played Herbaceous Sprouts, which is the other version with the dice that they made?
No, not yet.
No, I haven't. Yeah.
I like that. They have a very well designed solo mode in that one that I like quite a bit. That's why I like that one. I've played it solo many, many times. So highly recommend.
Pencil First does such a good job of creating good solo modes for their games. I mean, I've only done Herbaceous and Floriferous, but both of them have really nice solo modes that they don't feel tacked on. They really do feel like a nicely well-developed addition to the game that is like, it's just great. I enjoy it. I love a good solo game.
That's definitely intentional, which is, I mean, the fact that they make it designed that way, which is, you're right. I don't think enough people do that. I'm not going to belabor the point because you've said it perfectly. Far from perfect is, and it's a good reason. I think it's interesting timing with all the stuff going on from your perspective and moving, because my game that I want to talk about is one. Ryan actually had sent me a link to this. Ryan, for those who don't know, co-conductor here on the Express, and he had sent me this link and said, "You'd really like this game." And one thing when you've got a good partner in any project is they can kind of read your mind and say, I know what kind of game you're going to like. And he was right about this one. I definitely have to play this with more people. And I partially as a test to see how well it plays if it's been played before. But that game is Decorum. This game from Floodgate Games, I just have to tell you, first and foremost, in this game, you can play with 3 players. There's a bunch of 3-player scenarios. Most of the scenarios have a 2-player element. There's a whole string of these. Decorum, now I have the deluxe version that's got the acrylic pieces, which you can see. I let my son take all these photos, so my thanks to my son. I promised him he could help me with the video. So that's how I had him do it. You are trying to make your house perfect for you. You have set scenarios of things that can and must happen and that cannot absolutely happen in any way. And you are ultimately collaborating. It is not competitive. So what's funny about it is there's 4 different types of furniture, from modern to unique, and they're in different colors, and then each room can be painted. So when it's covered up, but there's these kind of long bars that represent paint. So each room can be painted a color. You're going to have requirements, though. You may have to do something like your mirror, all the mirrors have to match the paint color, or all the mirrors in your house maybe have to be retro, or maybe everything in a room has to be retro, whatever it may be. You're playing, and that above the house, which this is actually not one piece. Those are 2 separate pieces. The house and that roof are 2 separate. I just have them together there. You're going through the round. And when you get to round 15, 20, and 25, if you have not solved it yet and you're not completely done, you get to reveal one of your items. And so at that point, you're letting that information be known. By the end, you're given a real shot to do it. But keep in mind, that also means you've got 5 rounds. Hypothetically, if you get to 25 and you get the last one, you might be, not have that much time left to get something done, even if you think you can. It's a lot of fun. I've played the scenarios. All the scenarios have 2 carts. There is apparently a story going on in them that is going to interconnect and weave. So we're playing them in order. I can only speak to 3 or 4 scenarios now. I'm not revealing anything. The only thing I will tell you is this is the first scenario with no background information otherwise. So that's all I can say. That's how it starts. And that's probably why my son set it up this way with no paint, because there's probably no paint in any of the rooms in the first scenario. But yeah, that's Decorum. I really enjoy this. Even if this is a game that is a 1 or 2 plays and I need to put it away for a year, this game totally worth the investment, totally worth the money. And I'm a big fan early on here.
Have you heard of this one, Risa?
I have. I have heard of this one. I have seen photos and heard people talk about it. And it's one of those that I'm like, this is either going to make or break my relationship. Either we're going to play this game and we're going to be like, we're like, oh, we were meant to be. This is great. This is destiny. This is soulmate stuff, baby. Or it's going to be like, we need to talk.
It is described, for the record, Danny, it is described as a game of passive-aggressive cohabitation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was at Gamma Expo in March. All of like Floodgate was handing out review copies, so many people were playing this, and I got to observe a game between Danny and Grant from TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very like big personalities anyway. But if Grant put a furniture in a room that Danny did not want him to, she would like go. It's just hilarious how like it literally was passive aggressive, but within the rules of the game. It's great.
Oh my gosh.
It's
I'm picturing the two of them playing, and this sounds amazing.
it's really funny because these pieces, I want to show the paint actually. So what I'm going to do really quick is just do a share of BGG really quick, because I do want you to see it. Give me one sec here. So you can kind of see here, like with the paint down and everything, it's got just this really neat look. I don't know. It looks great. It plays great, like you said. I do think the personality piece comes into this game. My son and I, in between each round, are saying, yeah, that's fine. I would just be like, my son was laughing because I just go, meh. Like when I was like, I don't care, but like, I didn't really love it. But I will say it starts to ramp up. This photo, by the way, it looks like it's from Isla from Covert Studios, the one that I just showed, which happens all the time. I always see their art is everywhere. I love it on Board Game Geek. Their photos, not their art. But yeah, I love it. I dig it. I'm only 3 or 4 in. It starts to ramp up pretty quick. Like the first one, right? It's introductory. And then they say, all right, you've done it. Now you get the idea. Now play. And that's the neat thing. I think the last game we played, we were in like round 16 to 20 at some point, and that was the third or fourth. That was, I think, the third one. So you could see immediately we're starting to get into those later rounds. We solved it because of the clue in the 15th round, and that's why we were able to do it. But that was only the third or fourth one in, and there's at least 20 of these. So it's going to amp up. It's very expandable too, which is a win as far as I'm concerned. You could totally expand upon this, make more of these cards. I can imagine making custom ones. I think the community could jump on this. So I highly recommend it. If you get a chance to try it out, definitely do.
It sounds like a good housewarming gift for myself. Literally.
It would be. Well, I want to say, I want to thank, I know obviously a little bit, a lot of different games here tonight. I do always appreciate that. I did want to ask, it looks like Ryan knew I was asking. So I'm just going to share for Ryan's new to me, Carlius Magus, Chucky Mags. There will be more on this because I played this game and I now own a copy too. That's an area control game, but it uses these cubes as part of it. It's so old. It's so 2000. It has a variant that I'll speak to, Ryan, and we can dig more on the channel sometime when you get back. But it has a variant that eliminates some of the luck factor because some of the way you're getting the cubes is by rolling dice, and it's got a way that adds drafting instead, and it changes the game. And it makes it with that variant. It's amazing, quite frankly. So, really fun game. That I would highly recommend people check out, though I guess it's out of print. So it's one of those, if you get a hold of it. Ryan says it's so mean that he loves it. any honorable mentions for you? Anything that nearly made your list, by the way, before we close this out? Because I know that 2 is a small amount ultimately in terms of trying to say, here's a game I played.
I mean, well, normally if somebody asks me like, what are 2 of the best games you've played over the month? I'm like, have I even played 2 games this month? Like, I just don't have time to play games. But I've been very lucky that when you're moving, people want to see you and hang out with you. So I've been able to get some games in. I have to say Calico because I played surrounded by 3 incredible cats, which always makes it better. But I played with the what does she call it? The politeness variant, where it's basically like one of the quilt patterns goes down, and someone's just like, I would like that one. I'm just putting it out there. If no one else needs it, I could really use that one. And we're all just like, okay, we can work around this. It started off as a politeness, and then it turned into straight up like, if you don't take it, I'll do something else. Like, yeah, like it turned into threats, and like, I will flip this table if you take that piece of quilting.
I love that. I'll have to play like that next time.
Oh, it was fun. It's I mean, when you play with friends, especially because like I was surrounded by 3 cats. These people, that's their cats. They love cats. They're all about it, and they're starting to get into board games. And it was a really fun, like they just recently got in. They're just like, we have to play it all the time. Like, okay, let's do it. And I love feeling that kind of excitement for a game, and that always makes the experience. Sometimes it's more about the experience almost than the game that you play. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this
so
game I will note Calico, I think, was mentioned the first time we did On the Table back in October or November, and I love this game. I tend to play Cascadia more, but part of that might be because I lent Calico out to our children's librarian like 4 months ago too. So I haven't had it available to me either. So I'd probably play it just as much. I love the puzzle of it.
yeah.
Danny, anything on your list that just kind of jumped out, or anything that you're excited to share either? And that goes to you, Risa, as well. After anything you're just excited that you're working on right now as part of your new opportunities that you're both in now.
Oh man. I could talk about work, but honestly, we have too many games coming out in the next couple of months. So I'll just say, check us out at Origins and Dice Tower East and Gen Con.
Oh, good. I'll be at Gen Con. I can check it out there.
PAX Unplugged, hopefully.
They're good. That I was going to ask PAX Unplugged because I will be I booked a hotel the moment they announced the dates.
There you go.
Every time. Risa, it sounds like we'll see which one. Where did you say you'll be at?
I'm going to be at Gen Con, and I'm going to be at PAX Unplugged. I unfortunately had a prior engagement for Origins, so I'm not going to be able to make it this year. But yeah, I will never miss PAX Unplugged. Mostly because my fiance's mother lives like 20 minutes away. So if we can't get a hotel, we can always go crash on her couch. So yeah, I will never miss PAX Unplugged. It's also my favorite. Like, I'm biased, but it's my favorite.
I love PAX Unplugged.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it. It's an hour and a half drive for me, I swear. We did have some come in. So let's see what some folks said. Amanda Maple said Crokinole, Tenpenny Parks, Cascadia, and Cobble and Fog for me this month.
I love the Cobble and Fog, the unmatched Cobble and Fog, I'm assuming.
I'm guessing that's what that is. Yes. And Tenpenny Parks, I've heard great things. I have not got to play. I love Cape May from them. So I need to play Tenpenny Parks. So that's on the list. I know 1 or 2 people who have it. So I'll definitely get a game of that in. And everyone loves Crokinole, especially Ryan. And there you go. Saying Crokinole for sure. And we have Game F saying Calico Sing My Shelf and it hasn't been played. Cascadia has been played a lot. Yeah,
Aaron,
they're 2 very different games.
Play it.
Yeah, play it. I want to stress they are 2 very different games. Like, even though I say I haven't played Calico as much because of this, they're 2 very different games. One is a real puzzle. Another offers just tremendous freedom in a different way. So, well, more than anything, I thank people for hopping in. Looks like we had a bunch of people join us in the second half, and I appreciate you all coming over. Go catch the first half. We talked about some great games. Risa, Danny, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I look forward to, it sounds like at least seeing you both at PAX Unplugged. Not sure if the other ones are in the cards for me, but I know PAX Unplugged will be, especially not that they announced a date that is not my cousin's wedding.
Yay!
So I may or may not be in Florida the week after, though. So in Orlando.
I will also be in Florida. So,
I know. I will probably
we'll see each
end
other
up
twice.
Yeah, I could potentially. That's what. So I thank everyone for joining. If you've got a guest or you've got someone that you'd like to see here on the Tabletop Express here on the table, please let me know. And I am, I know, Ryan, you're in the chat. I'm looking at my text. I don't think we have official title, but I know the goal is, just so people know, we started the call-in show for the channel, which, as far as we know, is not happening all that often around the space, and we're really excited by it. But we invite everyone to come to call aboard. I know we're aiming and hoping to do one next Tuesday, because that is Ryan's show, and Ryan's show alone, and I'm just his Andy. When it comes down to it, I'm gonna just say we're aiming for Tuesday, but there's potentially a baby on the way, so we reserve the right to cancel that at the last minute if for some reason we have a second member of Ryan's family on the way. So
you can't live stream from the hospital. Come on.
I have pushed enough boundaries at this point. I'm not going to ask that one, Ryan.
Okay, fine.
Ryan says between the options of Cult of the Old and high replayability. So if people have an opinion on that, certainly let us know. But hopefully you can join that. That's call aboard, and you can actually join in and be part of the show. And he does say he'll stream from a delivery room. I do not think he got his wife's approval on that, so I will not hold him to that. That sounds like a perfect note to say thank you to both of you, though, for being here with me tonight. If you haven't had a chance, I know Danny's been on the channel before. I can drop a link for that in here. And please go check them out. We've got links to both their Twitters within the episode description. So go give them a follow the great work that they're doing, as well as their companies. And at this point, I'm going to say thank you to everyone for coming aboard the Tabletop Express. We'll be back, like I said, hopefully next week with Call Aboard. Thank you, everybody.